wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got some special guests in the building from the Not All Hood podcast. We have Malcolm-Jamal Warner, Weusi, Baraka, and Candace Kelley. Welcome.
Thank you. Hey, good to see you.
How the brothers and sisters feeling?
We good.
Life is good.
Yeah, good morning. Absolutely.
Yeah, last time I was here, y'all just moved into this.
You was the first interview.
Yeah,
you was the first interview in our new studio.
That's right.
Wow.
Man, I love the name. Not All Hood. Nah.
Yeah, man.
Who came up with that?
That was Weusi.
Yeah, I don't even remember for real. Like I was just like, nah. Like Malcolm and I have been talking about just the concept of the podcast and how the diversity in who we are and also who we're not, right? So I was like, nah.
Yeah, it feels like that when somebody say all black people from the hood. Nah.
Right.
Exactly.
Not a hood.
Right.
Exactly.
Is it that we're a lot of people come from poor and disenfranchised environments, but we are not our environment? Like,
it's just that we come from a bunch of different environments.
Yeah.
You know, and we feel like a lot of media have been portraying us either like you're hip hop, well, purely you're hip hop or pop culture, right? You know, and we more than that.
It's funny that you actually said that, Charlamagne, because I grew up in LA, in the jungle, which is
wow. Yeah.
And my mother used to say to me, Malcolm, we live in the jungle, we're not of the jungle. So she was very clear on me having my sights further than just my neighborhood. Which is why she put me in theater, and it was always trying to find things for me to do to keep me, from just going to school and just hanging out. But it was that, a certain mindset that she instilled in me. Like, okay, yeah, we're here, but this doesn't have to define us.
Yeah. And you know what? We are often recognized before we enter into any room and judged, right? And sometimes you get the question that means you really don't belong here. So when that comes...
Can I help you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Can I help you? Right. Can I help you? Or have I seen you here before? Or what are you doing in this neighborhood?
Yes, that's
right.
the one.
That's the one,
what are you
right?
doing in this
what are you doing in this neighborhood? This is my neighborhood.
Why are you jogging here?
Yeah, why are you jogging here, right? That that used to happen to my father. He would jog in the neighborhood, and all the white neighbors would stop him when we first moved in. And they would keep on stopping him. This is back in the 70s. So he finally just went to the police station and said, I just need to introduce myself so that when you guys stop me, you know who you are. And it stopped. But that's kind of an example of what it means when people perceive you beforehand and what you have to do to go outside of the box to keep on proving who you are over and over again. So this really is just an ongoing conversation that we have. Malcolm likes to call a safe space, which it is, just to say really what we want. About anything, about our experiences in America. And that's really kind of key to it, too. We have people that are from diverse backgrounds, whether they're from the Caribbean or whether they're from Africa. But you come to America and it's kind of a thread. And those are the types of stories that we're sharing to really change this mass narrative that's already out there about us. Create a shift.
Is the term hood negative, though? When people say hood, sometimes it comes off as negative. I don't take it as a negative term. Is it a negative term?
No, and I think part of the the idea of not all hood is not a negative term. Hood is part of the community. Like when we speak of the black community, we always tend to refer to it as if it's a monolith.
That's right.
But there are all these different lanes to the black community, all these levels, all these different lanes, and oftentimes we don't have a space where we can actually, discuss, acknowledge, and deal with all of those levels, all those lanes. So the hood is not a bad thing. We're not all, yes, we are hood, but we're not all hood. And the media, and I think part of it is the media tends to put more focus on one aspect of the black community. Thus, we get all the stereotypes and preconceived ideas.
And hood comes from like neighborhood.
Neighborhood, sure.
You know what I mean, right? And De La said it, They call it the hood because we're not neighbors anymore. You know what I mean? 'Cause a lot of times we're not communicating with each other, right? But we're trying to change that.
I did get that question a lot, though.
What's that?
You ever been on a podcast? Isn't hood negative? So I understand where you're coming from, but just like they said, it's a neighborhood. I mean, I live in a place where I'm next to a lot of Indian neighborhood, Jewish neighborhood, You can still call it the hood. People also associate the word hood
with just
us, which
With black,
really,
yeah.
with
Right.
black. So it's just one of those things. It's kind of some damage that the media, the pop culture, the news has done, and really trying to define who we are.
Yeah, I never took it as negative. It was always, I'm going back to the hood. I mean, I'm going back home to my
Right,
neighborhood.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
Exactly.
Wherever it was. I'm going to play basketball in the hood, which was my neighborhood. You know what I mean? I never took it as, oh my gosh, there's a place. No, I never took it as that. I know a lot of people do, but that was always just like going home, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And we were talking about this yesterday, that also when we talk about being African American, we talk about the trauma that's associated. Like that's really, we have diabetes and high blood pressure and we're dying, and the infant mortality rate. But we're happy people too.
Yo, it's a lot of great
but
things. Beautiful
but we
things
make
that
it
come
to
out of
the
the hood.
news when it's bad. We often make it to the news when it's bad, and so that's another thing that I think this podcast does. I think for the three of us is just show the joy and what it's like being black, in spite of and because of the things that are going out there in this 2024.
Lord have mercy.
Lord have mercy. But yeah,
How did the three of y'all come together? How did y'all get together?
look, we were looking to the left.
Yo.
Everything on you, huh, Mr.
I know,
Baraka?
right.
Weusi and I have been friends for,
For a minute, a long minute.
20 plus years.
Yeah.
We used to both be at the National Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem. And Weusi and I met in 1999. And we had put on the first poetry jam there. And that turned out to be one of the biggest attractions at the theater. We used to call it the Midnight Poetry Jam. So after, all day of theater, in every imaginable performance space in the city, then people would come back to to our venue, and we would pack out a Midnight Poetry Jam. And it would just be open mic, starting at midnight, and we'd go to like 2:30, and it was a big attraction for the festival.
And then we just kept hanging out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I know linked with Candace from I was doing sort of community organizing, and sort of it was a event with what was it? Was it Juneteenth?
Yeah, it's like
Juneteenth, right?
Very timely.
In Morristown, New Jersey, and we connected there, just sort of linked. And when Malcolm and I decided that we were going to do this podcast, we were like, we need some different voices, and I pulled her in.
Yeah. So, and I do a lot of work, a lot of commentating on various, mostly legal cases. I fill in for Roland Martin too, Roland Martin Unfiltered. And so I'm always running my mouth. And when I got on with them, I think I ran my mouth enough for them to say, you know what? You want to keep talking with us? I was like, I actually do.
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
really, and that first conversation, we talked about everything from the N-word to twerking to music. I mean, we were just on for a long time. It was just a nice, everybody was testifying. You know what I mean? It really was. It was just a good way to connect and get to know each other. And the conversation has been going on ever since.
Yeah. But the dope thing was when Way and I first started talking, we're both older fathers. So the initial idea was to do a podcast from the perspective of older black fathers. So when we first met with Candace, it was as a producer to produce the show.
That's right.
And then we had that meeting was like, 90 minutes.
And this is the show.
We're like, we need to add Candace as a host and expand the concept from just, the black father perspective. Yeah. And it turned into...
And I think your wife, because your wife is in the background like, that sounds good. Yeah.
What are some of the topics you guys will be discussing?
Black fatherhood.
Black
fatherhood.
Being older fathers with younger children.
Yeah.
So,
How you guys handling that?
Yo.
What is your youngest? How old is your youngest?
So youngest, we only have one.
Oh yeah, because I got a 2-year-old. So.
Ooh, salute. Good
And then
Lord.
I got a 22-year-old.
Yeah, what do y'all call? What do y'all call older black fathers?
So, I mean,
fathers?
I'm 53.
That
I got a
worked, too.
9-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I got 6, he got 4.
Yeah,
I got
I'll be
6 kids, he got
46
4.
in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
My youngest is 2. I got a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, 8-year-old, and my oldest is 15.
Yeah. So y'all started around when we started.
Yeah. I'm 53 and my daughter just turned 7.
Okay.
So
Y'all
as
can have a
opposed to-
conversation.
Yeah,
right,
we
word,
talking about.
word.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Word.
those days where they be on go. You know what I mean? And you gotta just ramp your energy up and and make it happen. You know what I mean?
That's crazy you say that. My homeboy told me that a long time ago because, all my homeboys had kids way younger than I did.
Right.
And they was like, man, you can wait till you 30 plus 40 to have kids. You're going to be running around. Your knees going to be hurting. I'm like, no, it won't. Yes, they are.
Right, exactly.
But doesn't some good come with that? You being older, so to
absolutely.
speak. Yeah, being a father and not being 21.
Absolutely.
Not being having growth yourself that you have to go through.
Oh, yeah. My last, my two youngest get a version of me that did not exist
Hello.
10 years ago, 15
Right.
years ago,
Yeah.
I spent more of my adult life in long-term relationships, more years of my adult life in long-term relationships than not. And my wife and I have been together 8.5 years, and not more than 2 days go by that I don't give thanks to the universe for giving me the wisdom and fortitude to have waited as long as they did. 'Cause a lot of people are like, he's never going to get married. And I think at some point I probably thought.
Like, we used to have these conversations. Like, yo, they looking at us like we, damaged goods. Like, what you mean? You 39, you don't got no kids, and you're not married? Nah, he got a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's the best thing. I know for me, it's the best thing I could have done. I would not have. I definitely would not have been as effective a husband and father had I done this any earlier with anybody else.
That is such a great conversation you never hear men have. Like, that's a conversation you always hear, women have. But so you actually waited? Like, you were actually waiting for the right person?
How many bullets I died, brother? I've been doing this since 13. On TV since 13.
Word.
I neo'd my way out of a lot of shots.
But your circumstance was different, though, because you didn't know if people wanted to be with you or they wanted to be with Theo.
Nah, you know what? I mean, there was that. Because I've been doing it for so long, I've been really blessed with a great sense of discernment. So that was never my issue. To be completely transparent, my thing about marriage was like, yo, I'm not getting married and then giving a chick half of my stuff because I messed up. Like, so I was very clear that even though there were situations that, were really, pressuring, if you will, like that kind of marriage, I was like, nah, because I knew me. And I knew that I wasn't going to, because I wasn't giving half my trap because I messed up.
What about you, Wee?
It was about just being patient. Like, I know me, and I know that, like, not everybody's gonna be able to deal with me as a community organizer who, like, really understands that the people around me that are close to me are gonna be okay. My work in life is to make sure that other people are gonna be okay. So sometimes I'm a little hard on the people that are close, right? I'm gonna get out and, like, they're gonna have to take a back seat sometimes, right? That was part of it, and a big part was, like, raising my child. The idea of, like, me getting married and having a child, you gotta be special.
Man, word.
You got to be special. So I love you, Shelly.
Yeah, we have one show where we have these two and Lamont Rucker, and I just sit back and I listen. I was like, there can be some people that are taking notes, some women that are taking notes, because they really, I was like, this is some good, like you said, I don't hear that a lot.
Not from men. Yeah.
Just talking about fatherhood and just the humility and how proud they are, and then all the rules and lessons that they learned along the way while they were dating. Oh, boy. It really was a note-taking moment. It was good.
You guys have boys or girls?
Girls.
Oh, yeah, girl
What
dad.
else said that was kind of suspect? Girls.
Yo, it's different.
It's different. It's way different.
I got 4.
He has
You've
four,
got 4 girls?
I got 4
It's
girls.
lovely, isn't it?
You know.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, and I deserve it.
Yep.
He has no boy.
That's they say. Yeah, I ain't know.
Yeah.
All of it, all sides of it.
How does that change you having girls? I got 4 girls. Charlamagne has 4 girls. How does that change you as a father? I got 2 boys too, though, but them girls change you.
So I asked the universe for a girl first. So even before conception, we were very clear we were having a girl, and I knew that I needed a girl first to kind of ease me into it because I have a pretty good idea of what kind of father I would be. So I needed a girl to kind of, slow me down and warm, soften me up, if you will. So for me, raising my daughter, I came into fatherhood already with a certain maturity and certain understanding of male-female dynamics. And with a girl, all of that starts with the father. So I've always, since I literally pulled her out of my wife, I've been focused on, instilling in her the kind of love that she is not going to have to go out in the world and try to find. Treating her with a level of respect at 9 months old that she will, that kind of love is normalized, right? That's always been my biggest thing. Like, you see these girls out here who don't have great relationships with the fathers, and through our lifetimes we've been with a lot of them, right? So I knew that for me the biggest gift that I can give my daughter is a sense of self. Right. So when she goes out into the world, she is not easily influenced by her surroundings.
Amen.
Right. So since she was like 2 years old, someone says to her, "Oh, you're so pretty, you're so cute, you're so beautiful," she'll say, "Thank you," and I'm smart too.
That's how we run it.
Like, that's the normalization I want her to have in terms of how she sees herself and carries herself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What you see?
Yo, same thing. Like, it's a humbling space. Giving my daughter like a different kind of vocabulary that's empowering to her, so that when she interacts, she knows that she walks and talks from a position of power.
Absolutely.
Have
y'all started with the dance yet and cheerleading yet?
Hold on, can you speak to that, Candace?
Yeah, yeah. I come from a family of 3 girls.
Okay.
And my father, really just the king of all things. They know all about my father. I told a story already today about my father. You know what I mean? So that is very infused in me. And my mother too, don't get me wrong. But since we're talking about fathers, everything that he poured into me. And sometimes you're doing something and you're like, "Oh, that's my dad. What I did right there, that's my mom." Like, when they've poured into it, when you see you doing things that are just like what they did. And you don't even realize it. So you don't even realize what the kids see and don't see. But really, my parents really allowed me to see all of the right things. They really did. And parents generally are always right. Really, like, it might be 20 years down the line.
We try. I'm wrong a lot, and my daughter reminds me that Baba.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
It really is powerful to have a powerful father, to have a presence all the time, even when they're gone, still there.
I think the funniest thing for girl dads is humbling, right? Meaning, I was never into cheerleading or dance or any of those sports. But now, when I take my daughters to dance,
you better get out
I be doing the dance with them.
Right. You mean shoulders back.
Right. What? And I be doing the dance moves.
Right.
It takes you out of that ego place where it's like, "No, I'm a tough dad." Nah.
Right.
I'm a softy.
Yeah.
I think when my daughter was born, I found myself like crying all the time, like over like just simple shit. Be like, that touches me.
Like baby feet and baby dimples.
That's hilarious.
I was like, "What is? Oh, they're so cute." It opened up a whole nother world.
It's probably a stupid question, Wade, but I hear poetry. Your last name's Baraka. You related to Roz?
No relation. No
what?
relation.
Wow.
No relation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
salute to the Baraka family.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, all the great things, and to the elder OG Imam.
Absolutely.
Mary.
Yeah. Now, Father's Day is around the corner. Do you guys, is Father's Day important to you guys as much? And for you, is it important as you? Because for myself, I just want to chill Father's Day. I don't need too much. Just a little barbecue, the kids around. That's all I care about Father's Day. What is it for you guys?
Oh, we're gonna start with the girlfriend. So my father is passed a couple years ago. He died during COVID. But thank you so much. And so, but my husband. So I was this morning. All right, we're doing dinner, right? We're doing it at the house. Or we're doing that. We're going out. It's one of those things where I just like, as I tell my husband all the time. You know what? It's not the birthdays or the Christmas or the holidays that society has said. Just be good to me on a regular Tuesday. We'll be good. But I do remember as my father and he got older, it was really important because everybody was all over the place. Everybody goes in their own lives. So it was good to come back and give him that gift of time. Because at some point, you don't need socks or clothes or TV or ties. You don't need that. What you want is stuff that's really free. Time, respect, love, your energy, your opinion, all of that. So it's good to come together for all of those things that cost no money, especially as people get older.
My dad wants a scratch-off ticket.
Just
give me a scratch-off
There
ticket.
you go.
But
you know what? He really wants to see you when you give it to him. You know what I mean? It's not the ticket.
Yeah, he wants a scratch-off.
Yeah. But if he wins, you got to work that out.
We gotta work that out.
Malcolm, are you afraid of being too honest or too vulnerable on these podcasts? Because in this era, people get very loose on these podcasts.
Yeah.
As we've seen.
Yeah. And people have a certain image of you. Do you even care about that?
So it's interesting. So, I've said that in interviews that this is, the most vulnerable. And I've always been pretty transparent in my art and my poetry and music. But I don't worry about it. I got a good taste of it just this week because we had our first episode dropped on Monday, and we were having conversation about the N-word, and I had I made a statement about J. Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Just really interesting how many people were not listening to what I was saying and took my comments as I was I was hating on J. Cole. So it's things like that, and then the way the Instagram, the Art of Dialogue.
And other.
The way they worded it.
That's the world we in.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, right. This is the reason why I stopped commenting on IG first thing in the morning.
It's Malcolm-Jamal one that says he stopped listening to J. Cole because J. Cole says the N-word.
Let's play the clip. Let's insert the clip here so people understand. Because they be like, what are you talking about?
Are you playing it in context?
Are you playing it in context? Because
Okay.
I'm sure we don't have the clip up. Do you have the clip? No. So we're in context. Okay.
Okay.
People heard the clip.
Dig it. So many people, they just ignored the fact that I said I love J. Cole, and I said that most of my favorite MCs, are guilty of the same thing. We're talking about, perpetuating anti-black messaging in our black music. So that was really my point.
See, I don't understand. That's when they lose me. How is that anti-black? How is the N-word saying you don't like the N-word anti-black messaging? Isn't the N-word anti-black?
That's what I'm saying. My perspective is so much of our black music today, like you take the dope beats away and you just listen to the lyrics. Lyrically, it's anti-black messaging.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? And we talk about, so much of, hip hop today that's trash and whatnot. But, as I said before, they grew up listening to what we were listening to, right? So we are complicit in, the parts of hip hop today that we don't like because they grew up listening to us, listening to. The content is the same. The skill set is just whack.
That's true,
right? Which is what makes it stand out.
But also, they didn't listen to what we were listening to.
No, what I'm saying,
But I think that we also had a broader. We listened to music when there was more than just hip hop. Hip hop was not the juggernaut of music that it is now, right?
Okay.
Like
R&B,
like jazz, like you would,
Neo
like we was
soul.
rocking the Salt Hall Notes, you know what I mean, and all these other things.
Phil Collins,
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
80s pop music.
Like we had these a lot of other influences that I think the youth of today aren't necessarily being promoted
in terms of balance.
Yeah, in terms of balance. Yeah,
I get exactly what you're saying because even the other genres now are hip hop.
Right.
Influence.
I'm saying like it's country's a little bit of hip hop. You know what I mean? So
much of the hip hop that gets the shine, it's the anti-black messaging. I mean,
but
very rarely. There are not many hip hop songs that are speaking love to our people. Most of it is very threatening.
But is that the artist or is that the industry?
Both.
Okay.
And the end result is the same. The psyche on young black boys and girls is the same. But if it's young black boys and girls, that's on the parents. Yeah. Sure, but all parents don't. There's a certain luxury that you and I have in terms of the time that we and our wives can spend with our daughters, right? But everybody, all families don't have that. So we're not talking about the psyche of young black kids who have their parents very involved in their lives and showing them balance. We're talking about the ones who were
but
more
let's hold them
easily
accountable and
and
get it
susceptible
them.
to the messages.
I like this. There we go.
My fault. This is like
this is
this is
the
the podcast.
Yeah.
Would you say Cole? I don't think. Would you say J. Cole has anti-black messaging though?
No, so for me, because nigga has become, it's become the staple in hip hop. Like it's got to be nigga and bitch. That's why I said in that clip, I think there should be a moratorium on both of those words in hip hop because it's at this point it's corny, it's lazy. Everybody is using it. So let's there are so many brilliant writers and lyricists out there that it's like come on, let's step our game up. We don't have to keep doing it. If everybody's doing it, then come on, do something different. So my thing with J. Cole, I just got to a point where I got tired of hearing N-word or being called N-word in every hip hop song I'm listening to. And I mentioned J. Cole because I love J. Cole, and he's such an incredible lyricist that when I hear him just gratuitously use either of those words, I'm like, you kind of, then I have to tune out.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I like J. Cole or respect his
artistry,
his pen game any less. I just go, all right, I gotta tune out because it's not bringing
feeding
me.
you.
It's not feeding me.
So what about an album like? Because and this is the album that I say in the future is going to be two of the most important albums of all time. Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big Steppers, Jay-Z 444. The things that they're discussing on this album: black men going to therapy, black men doing right by their women. Issues with our father, daddy issues that we face.
Right.
Like to me, those themes are bigger than the language that they're using. Even you look at somebody like Tupac. To me, Tupac's themes were bigger than the language he was using.
People keep saying that about Tupac, but and I don't want to get into a whole thing about Tupac, but I listen to his catalog. There's Dear Mama, Brenda's Got a Baby, Keep Your Head Up, and then everything else is
not everything.
There's changes. This you got a bunch of, but you know what this conversation sounds like? It sounds like. When you're younger and your father said, "Oh, you listen to that hippity hoppity rap," because there's a lot of positive artists out there that are spitting, right? But when we were listening to music, those same artists had the same problem. If you think about Talib Kweli, never got on radio. Mos Def never got on radio. Tribe Called Quest hardly got on radio. We talk about a lot of those positive rappers. It was the same thing back then. Those artists might have a record or two.
Right.
Talib didn't get on radio till he did a record till Jay-Z hopped on a single just to get by. You know what I mean? That was the first time he really got on radio.
Record though.
But that's a
record's
positive
fire.
But it took him a long time to get on record. Most Def and them didn't get really on radio till Miss Fat Booty. So a lot of the things that we talking about was the same thing. Common rarely got on radio. You know what I mean? But it's the same thing.
Thought.
It's the same thing of what we push. Like back then, who was on radio? Biggie.
That's
Pop,
right.
T.I. Those
But
artists.
all of those brothers
But
his name had records with socially redeeming value.
But the records that were on radio were the.
Like my dad used to always try to get me to listen to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I would sort of reluctantly. But when I heard Biggie say "Deep Like the Mind of Farrakhan," I'm like, oh, that's the brother my daddy's always trying to get me to listen to. So now I really listen.
Right, he was speaking to you.
Yeah, when I heard Chuck D say Farrakhan's a prophet, I think you ought to listen to him. Like, oh, let me pay attention. So even with the language of a Biggie or whoever, they can still deliver messaging that makes you get in the right direction.
I agree.
Like Lauren says, what's the line?
Right. So you're ignorant. Hear
listen,
me.
yeah.
Right.
I was trying to get him to say it.
But also what I have to be mindful of as well is
Respectability politics.
not even that, because that's a whole nother conversation.
Okay.
Right. But it's more. I realize that it's way more productive across the board, and for my own energy and space is instead of spending time talking about the trash, right? Talking about the things that I don't like, and I think we're all guilty of it. We talk about the negative, but I'm trying to be more mindful, like even in my conversations about hip hop, be mindful of, well, instead of talking about the same thing, which is the negative, let me spend time highlighting what I like.
Right,
Like what I love about hip hop.
Let's talk about the Moo Freshes and the Roques.
Right, Moo Fresh. I ride hard for Moo Fresh all day. But even just that, like, thinking about Norman Son, this cat I finally reposted on Instagram, like seeing these cats who I believe really need to have shine. Well, instead of complaining that they don't have shine, I got it social media. Like now, I can actually give shine to those, and I got a following, I've got a voice. I've got integrity, a reputation for integrity going for me. So, like, why not just use that and spend more time, speaking about the giving love to the things that make me feel good.
But I also think it's evolution too, right? Because I went to Hampton. When I used to drive to Hampton, I'm listening to Nori because it's keeping me up. What? And I'm thinking I'm the biggest the biggest thought out there, right? But then when you get a little older, you'd be like, that's a little noise right now in the morning. Let me turn on some Mary.
I still like listening to it when I'm working out. I'm from the South, so I grew
workout,
up on
that's
Crunk
it.
And everything.
Yeah.
But I also grew up on Goody Mob. I also grew up on Outkast.
I think we've got more of a balance, right? As we get older, we've been exposed to more music, right? Yeah. So it's a little different now. You know what I mean? Like they still in the throes of what's hot. You know what I mean? How we access music is different now because they're just like, point and click, right? And it's not necessarily about what's on the radio. It's about what they want to listen to,
which is better.
And they've got direct access to that.
Candace, I want to ask from a woman's perspective because what I find interesting, right? We have these conversations, but I will never forget Snoop Dogg and DMX's verses, right? When they did their verses, I think it was during COVID. And I remember thinking, this is going to be the night that, they finally listen to Snoop and DMX and it's going to be a woke cancel fest on Twitter. But there was people in the comments, the same people I usually see trying to cancel people, loving it, right?
Yeah.
So how does that make you feel knowing you came up in that era of the 90s? Is it conflicting that you?
No, not at all. And I'm right in the middle with them in terms of, number one, the N-word and just this whole idea of music and what it represents because I know, so I love Wu-Tang. And when I listen to them, I get like a good energy out, not just workout, but when something goes wrong, sometimes that music allows you to let stuff out.
That's right.
That you just couldn't get out in the day when you're with your peers or when you're on the streets. You just in the car, loud with it. And then I also think it's a how were we brought up and what do we bring to the table? So the N-word, for example, I don't know how you were introduced to it ever, but that's shaped probably what the word means to you. And same with me, probably same to you. We all have different things that we bring to the table just culturally. And I think that just shifts. And I'm a firm believer in the First Amendment, like all the way, because once you start saying no here and no here, then I'm giving somebody else the authority to say no to me one day too. And I don't want that precedent. I don't want them saying, well, you can't say this and you can't say that just because of the content of it or the context of it. We don't like it at all. It's like when they try to bring up rap lyrics when they go to jail in court, right? That doesn't make any sense. We all have the same equal First Amendment rights and you should fight for them and use them equally.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
TikToker yesterday, I seen it online. She said the N-word, right? She got fired from her regular job.
Oh, but this was the girl who was cooking.
That young lady.
Yes.
And in her comment, she
was
like,
also white, by the way.
Yeah,
yes.
White, right?
But that's a critical point. That's a critical point.
But this is where I'm gonna close with. She said on her TikTok that she didn't apologize because it was her first right amendment to say what she wanted to say, and she shouldn't have got fired. What's your thoughts on somebody like that? It is her first right amendment.
Yeah, but then there are 3 different rules. There's First Amendment rules on TikTok, there's First Amendment rules at her work, and then there's her own rules of what she believes about the N-word. And all of them conflicted, and she got exactly what she deserved.
She did.
But then that's what happened. That's why you do have to be careful with it, right? You can't be on TikTok saying it. This is a good example.
Being a white person.
No, not being a white person. No, you can't. So you just have to really understand how to use the First Amendment too. So for example, if you're the KKK, you can march anywhere in America. You just have to get the permit. You can't walk on your own. You have to follow the rules. She didn't follow the rules. She didn't follow her own HR rules at work, and that was her problem.
She got what she deserved.
That's right.
But
Candace Kelley, Esquire.
That's right.
But you know what? Like you said, it's also where you came from, right? Because New York, the N-word was a sign of endearment.
Sure.
What's up, my nigga?
Yeah.
What's up? It was that.
Right.
You really didn't hear the extremes of it until I went to Hampton in the South, and you'd be like, oh no, they're not saying it as hey,
Right.
Right.
and that's my lawn.
Yeah, right.
So it's different ways,
and that's sort of been part of my argument. For a lot of people, it's a term of endearment, like it's love. There are more interactions that are using the word that are about love than there are about disrespect. So and yes, we know the history of it. We also know that that's mine. You know what I mean?
But I also grew up reading stuff like I grew up, Message to the Black Man by Elijah Muhammad,
Right.
the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
There was a great book called From Niggas to God.
That's
by
right, yeah.
Hill.
Yes.
I think every black man in America should read that.
Yeah.
So it's always been, I've always been conflicted about using the word because I don't use it as a term of endearment.
Right.
When I use it the way when Chris Rock showed me the difference between niggas and black people, I use it for that.
Right.
Right. There's a I think last time I was here, I quoted Dr. Daniel Black, and I'm going to quote him again. He says, "Why should I borrow a word from people who hate me when I'm trying to speak love to my brothers and sisters?" Right. So I go back to comrade. It was a term Black Panther Party used. Reggie Mason, brought it back up to me. So I've been on this comrade campaign. Like, if I'm trying to speak love to my brother, well, comrade, I get the idea of, the N word is a term of endearment, but it's a colonizer's word. So
This whole language is colonized.
So for me,
like it's not our language. English is not our language.
sure, but I'm not going to use it. I'm at the point in my life where I question what's the sense in using a colonizer's word, which was a intentionally derogatory word to describe us. Why do I want to borrow that particular word and go through the hoops of it's positive? So for me, and just for me personally, I'm comrade, and I use it in both scenarios. That's my comrade.
Where you see
or these comrades.
where you see. Go.
I'm comrade.
Let me lean back. Let me lean
I see
back.
what you do now, Candace. Go. Let's talk to you like that now.
I'll talk to him. I'll talk that anytime I want.
And you also said we sold our culture out. We feel
In
that
terms
way?
of hip hop,
Yeah.
man, it's industry wise, it's sort of the bigger picture, right? Because they did it to jazz, like they co-opted it and used it for their own purposes.
But there wasn't messages in jazz that were going to have an effect on how black people see themselves.
Right. We sold ourselves out. But I also feel like from a macro perspective, this is going to be the civil rights movement created a lot of opportunities, and it shifted a mentality that made many of us very passive.
I know where you're going. Yeah.
Mm.
Brother Martin said that though.
Yeah.
He said,
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like I integrated my people into a burning house.
Into a burning house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had it was more of a sense of independence.
Right.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Go deeper. It's okay.
Nah.
Right.
It's okay.
No argument.
Man, my godfather gonna call me and be like, young man. I'm like, yeah, like it's heavy, it's a lot, and I'm like, you got me in a pinch right now. Damn.
I didn't hear what you originally said. You said that we sold ourselves out. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In terms of the music.
Well, yeah, I heard that
Yeah.
on the podcast.
On the podcast, yeah.
I mean, there was a time, and hip hop artists talk about it when the record labels say to them, "This is what you have to rap about. This is what we're paying for you to rap
Right.
about." So it's and again, I say in a lot of ways, our generation, we are complicit in what we see, the state of hip hop, and the younger generation. That's we allowed that to happen.
And for the
C.
dollar.
Dolores Tucker. She was right. She was right. I'm gonna get a T-shirt that says "Auntie was right."
We had a whole when Snoop was here. This was a few years ago. We had a conversation about that because that's always been on my mind as I've gotten older. Like, damn, see, Dolores Tucker was actually right. And Snoop said she was, but it was the way she was coming at us.
And again, it's like back to that First Amendment thing too. You know what I mean? Like it's a layered conversation. Like you can't tell me I can say like, where are you gonna control my tongue like that? I'm an artist. You gotta let me do what I do.
And so,
go ahead.
And selling yourself out means such a different thing years ago than today. So, a lot of it had to do with people not even being informed, right? Educated on what they could not do, their rights, whether it was publishing, whether there was First Amendment rights, whether it was their right to own a certain right, that they should have owned, advances. Now, these days, people are smarter. So when we say that people sell themselves out, I mean, it's negative, but along the way, you should be selling something, right? You should be, in the marketplace. Right. You should be the monopoly that you want to be in the process. So I'm glad the times have changed, right? But it's definitely different when we talk about who we are today. We are more informed in terms of, and so we're making more decisions, which is a good takeaway when we're looking back at what was happening in the 90s.
But some of the times you understand. Like we had a artist up here the other day. His name is Rob 49. He's from Louisiana, and he said he signed a deal so he could get out of the hood. Because he knew that if he was still there, it would be problems for him, his family, his mother, and all that. So he had to do the deal to get out. And I know even with hip hop back then, a lot of artists did the same. Right. That was their only way out.
Right.
Their music was great, and they didn't know anything out of that.
That's right.
So people consider that selling their soul, selling themselves out. For them, they look, I'm just trying to get out the hood. So
that's right. And if they had more information, they would have been better off. That's all.
Yeah, access.
Yeah, access. It's a big deal.
I agree.
Creating opportunities.
I got a couple more questions because I want people to subscribe to the podcast. But when it comes to TV and movies, do you have the same discretion with the N word and the B word?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if it's you mean in terms of
using it, or
in terms of my use of it, or the industry's use of it?
Both.
So I think I'm against the gratuitous use of the word. So like I understand all of the arguments and all of the defending, but I think what's getting lost is I'm referring to the gratuitous use of it. Sure, we can talk all day about there are some circumstances where that word is the only thing that really, so I'm aware of all of that. But my issue, as I said, is the gratuitous use of it.
Gotcha.
Because I would imagine, right, that if you get a tight script that takes place in the 1960s, well, that script's gonna have the N word.
That's context.
Right. So
That's
right. That's different, and that's what we talk about a lot amongst the three of us, is that it does have a place. We can't just erase that of history, right? It has a place. You cannot do certain things without the word coming up. It's just where you place it in your own life, and that's where you place it.
Yeah. Like I can't go do an August Wilson play.
Period.
Right.
You don't want to say
I'm not
the
going
N-word.
to use this word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I get all of that. I think
Yeah.
my issue is along with I go back to anti-black messaging in our music, the gratuitous use of the N-word is just, it's just, for me, I'm just like, enough already. And again, I say enough already, but then I also go back to, there's so many incredible lyricists who have proven their pen game is top notch. And I go, well, just elevate the shit. If all these corny motherfuckers are using nigga and bitch in all of their lyrics, then don't elevate the shit. Show them. And also, when we're in our 40s and 50s, still rapping the same shit we were rapping in our 20s, it's like, that's not even, show me some growth. Right? Like if you're not even giving me any integrity in your art,
an evolution.
Evolution, and growth. And I just can't. And it's not feeding my soul.
Can't do it. I get you. I wanted to ask you one question about respectability politics because you brought it up. The thing about respectability politics, what if the person you're respecting is just truly yourself? You're just policing yourself. This ain't about respecting the white man or the system or trying to make the system comfortable. I'm just respecting myself. Is that still respectability politics?
So I bring it up all the time because whenever I talk about that, people go to, well, it doesn't matter what people think about us. I'm like, I'm not even talking about white people. I'm talking about our own level of self-respect. So that's always the take that I bring up. But then the conversation always leads back to claiming respectability politics.
Yeah. What you think, Candace?
No, agreed. We have this conversation often where, you go out, you're not even worrying about any other race until somebody reminds you. So most of the things you're doing, I'm just doing inside of myself. I'm not really concerned about that. I echo what he says.
What you think, what?
I mean, those are very specific and nuanced situations. It's situational, right? I think that we've got to center ourselves first, and I think it's time that, you know, we put black folks at the front and really center how we move and making our movements based around the greater good. The respectability politics, it happens. It's a reality of American culture. And some people choose to engage and some people don't.
You don't seem like the type that's going to ever engage with.
I love my people. I love my people. You know?
Well, the podcast, Not All Hood, is streaming everywhere.
That's
and
right.
we appreciate you guys for joining us. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciation. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, Weusi, Baraka, and Candace, Kelley, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.